Volume of the cylinder is given by the equation volume is equal to pi r squared times h. So basically pi r squared is the area of the circular base, and then we give that area some depth or height, which gives it volume. So you want to write an expression for the height. So essentially we're going to solve for the height. So height is equal to volume divided by, we're going to undo the times pi times r squared with the divide, pi divide r squared. So there's our expression for height. So the volume remains constant at 300 milliliters. Determine the change in height if the radius is increased by 3 centimeters. Okay, so my height initial is going to be based on that equation. So I'm just going to change the volume to 300 and pi r squared. The r is unknown. The height final is going to be the same thing, except we're now going to change r into r plus 3 squared. Okay, so this is going to get bigger, so that means that the height will decrease as we increase the radius. Okay, we make the circle bigger. So the change in height then is going to be the final height minus the initial height. Now, it's important to recognize now, well, at this point we just need to subtract the equations, but it's important to recognize that we have 4 different factors, well, 2 factors here of r plus 3 and 2 factors here of r squared. There are no common factors here except for the pi. So if I want to add these fractions, I'm missing an r squared here, factor. Over here, I'm missing the whole r plus 3, not just r plus 3, but r plus 3 squared. And here I'm going to end up with r plus 3 squared as well. So now I have my common denominator. There's 5 factors in my common denominator. Now I can add these together. So I have 300 r squared minus 300, I'm going to keep this in brackets because remember that this negative is going to affect everything from there on. So remember to FOIL that out. First, outside, inside, last. Okay, and then we can just leave the denominator in its factored form. Pi r squared r plus 3 squared. Okay, so then we're going to expand this out. So 300 r squared minus 300 r squared. Conveniently, the r squareds cancel out. We're left with 1,800 r minus 2,700. And that's all over pi r squared r plus 3 squared. Okay, keeping the same denominator. Cancel out the common these terms here that undo each other. Just be careful of all your algebra when you're multiplying out. Recognize the factor pieces again. Remember, this whole piece represents a factor piece. So the final change in height is going to be negative 1,800 r minus 2,700. Okay, and that's all over pi r squared r plus 3 squared. So it makes sense, if we increase the radius, we're going to decrease the height.